Hello, and happy Monday. It's Monday again. Did you guys know you can put filter? I don't have a filter on this thing, to be clear. I've decided to not 100% do away with the filters, but because they're fun. Some of them are just fun, and some of them make me feel a little better about myself, so I'm okay with that. But I didn't know you could put filters on lives. Apparently you can. So what I wanted to talk about today is, are you afraid to write a book because you are not an expert? Can't tell you how many times I've heard this. I've said it a few times myself. And I want to talk about it because it's such a huge myth and misconception when it comes to writing a book, and it holds people back so much, especially when they're writing nonfiction and memoir, which is what I specialize in, what I'm super passionate about. So really, when people are saying, I'm afraid to write a book because I'm not an expert, what they're really saying, which is what we're all really saying when we are afraid to write a book for any reason, is I'm afraid it's really going to suck. And because it's going to suck, I'm going to look stupid and all these things. I'm not even going to go down the rabbit hole of that because it's unnecessary and it's wrong. But here's the way I want to shift the thought process when it comes to being an expert. If you are going to write a book about how to split the atom like a third time, or you are going to write a book about how to do non-invasive surgery of some sort, I hope you have an MD or a PhD or something behind your name. That's probably going to be important. If you are writing nonfiction, what I call transformative nonfiction, which is exactly what it sounds like. It's nonfiction that it's about a process or a methodology, a set of steps that transformed the way that you approach a certain area of your life, and that can transform the way that your reader approaches a certain area of his or her life. That is transformative nonfiction. If you are writing transformative nonfiction or memoir, inspirational memoir, which is because it inspires. That's why I call it inspirational memoir. And the point of inspirational memoir is to take a piece of your journey where you have previously been challenged or stuck and had to work your way through, and you have gotten through it to the point where you now have a level of peace about that particular thing. This is an autobiography. If you are writing that type of book, which is what I work on, transformative fiction, inspirational non-memoir, and you're saying, but I'm not an expert, I want you to rethink that. There is no one on planet Earth or in the galaxy beyond who is more of an expert on your story and your experience than you. Many times people come to me and they say, anybody, right? They just put it out into the ether, like, I'm looking for a ghostwriter. And the reason they think they're looking for a ghostwriter is because it gives them a shield and they can kind of hide behind it. I can do a whole live on that too. And there's nothing, by the way, wrong with ghostwriting. I've done it. I do it for clients occasionally. Like, there's nothing wrong with ghostwriting. I just want to make that abundantly clear. However, your ghostwriter cannot write a powerful, transformative book without your input. You have to be willing to share and to go as deep as you're willing to go into your journey. Nobody knows your journey better than you. That is why no one is more of an expert on what you are proposing. If you are writing nonfiction and you're saying, this is the methodology, this is the signature process, these are the 7 steps, however you choose to phrase it, that you are proposing, those helped you. That is your area of expertise. Those 7 steps or that methodology may not be right for everyone. It probably won't be right for everyone. That's okay. It worked for you. You've probably casually given that information to other people who have asked you for it, or maybe you gave it unsolicited as a suggestion. And then they came back and they were like, that really worked. And in all likelihood, at some point, somebody said, you should write a book about this. And then you approach someone like me and were like, so-and-so said I should write a book. And then we had to talk about the word should and whether or not you actually want to write the book. But don't ever let the feeling of I'm not an expert because I don't have, now let's fill in the blank. Letters behind my name, a college degree, a master's degree, a high school degree. I haven't traveled the whole world. I haven't coached 67 clients to $100,000. I haven't made $100,000 in a year or ever. None of those things disqualifies you from writing an incredibly powerful book. Because you're just holding this information inside of you. Now, if you want to do that, that's fine. I'm not here to tell you should write a book. But if you've thought about it, there's something that's like niggling around in there. Niggling, by the way, being a word that I learned from my clients in the UK. One of them put it in a book once, and he said, you know, it niggles at you. And I was like, what in the Lord does that mean? Like, I had to look it up. I didn't look it up. I asked him, but apparently it's fairly common. So if it's niggling at you, right? If it's like keeps coming up, there's a reason it keeps coming up. Please trust that. The second thing I want to mention is, and this is so big, the people who read your book, you only need to be 1 or 2, maybe 3 steps ahead of where they are. You don't have to be the Dalai Lama. They are not looking to you to get them from where they are to wherever they're going to be in 25 years. And we tend to put so much pressure on ourselves to be so much more than our readers even need or frankly want. I've often, when I talk about and I don't, you know, in the coaching space, right? Sometimes people will say, oh, I wish I could hire, well, I don't know what just happened. Sometimes people will say, I wish I could hire that coach who's, you know, $250,000 a year. And I think that's awesome. If you aspire to that, I think that's like delightful and lovely and work toward that. Yes. And also there are probably, if you're only making $60,000 a year, there are probably problems that coach way up here at this price point is solving that you're not even ready to solve yet. So you can think of a book in the same way when it comes to, and I'm going to use the air quotes because I do it, magic bullets. There are no magic bullets. There are no magic bullets for writing a book. There are no magic bullets for transforming. Period. You have to do something. And in most cases, the people who are going to pick up your book, if you're writing transformative non-memoir or transformative nonfiction. I think I just made up a genre. I'll have to think about that. If you're writing transformative nonfiction and you give them 100 steps, that sounds okay from a marketing standpoint. Like, I'm going to give you 100 things. But the truth of the matter is that, and I have to stop for 1 second. Anthony just said, there's no way you said what in the Lord. I 100% said what in the Lord. And the reason that I did is because one of my twins, Jack, who's now 20, when he was about 3, he misheard me say what in the word. And he heard it as what in the Lord and has been saying that ever since. And therefore, so have I. It sounds great. It can sound great if you're like, I have 100 of this to give you. To some people, to a lot of people, that is so overwhelming. Like, just give me 1 step. I'm here. And I just want to move to here today. And if you tell me that I have to do 72 things between breakfast and dinner to get from here to here, I'm just going to go back to bed. All this to say, you do not have to take your reader from here all the way to here. You only have to be 1 or 2 steps ahead. And if you're thinking about writing a book based on your process or your experience, you already are. You already are. Because there was a time when you were having trouble getting off the couch, out of bed, out of the house, taking the next step, whatever that is, and however that looked for you, that was a struggle. When you were in that, you were not thinking about writing a book about it. You were just trying to get through it. Your reader, your ideal reader, the one person that you are going to write to, that is where they are right now. They are on the couch. They are in bed. They are not leaving the house. They are not logging into their email. They are afraid to take that next step. They are afraid to buy a course. They are afraid to take a risk on themselves. They are afraid to go to an interview. That, like, whatever it is that you help people not push through, because I don't believe in pushing through. I believe in going through. That's how we grow. When you push through, in my experience, you just it's like sweeping something under the rug. You just push it to the side and you pretend it's not there. You just force yourself through it. But it doesn't heal, and it doesn't, let's try not to use buzzwords here. Like, it doesn't let you be present with what you're doing differently, so that you can do that differently again and again and again and again and again, and also in different areas of your life. So the third and final point I'll make today, why people say, when it comes to people saying, but I'm not an expert, is they're like, but I'm not an expert writer. So maybe I've written a few posts here and there. Like, I do okay on social media, and I can be like, I can have brevity on Twitter, which is why I joined Twitter all those years ago, because I thought, okay, force me into 140 characters, please, for the love of God. But people think I'm not a writer. I don't know. My grammar's not great. It goes on and on. Who cares? And that is not me saying put out a book without having it edited. That is me saying, remember, there's an editor. Hire an editor. I'm an editor. For 25 years, I've been editing things and manuscripts and I'm editing you while you're talking to me. I'm editing myself while I'm talking to you. It's just ingrained in me. But editors, for the most part, that's what we love. It's not just syntax. Getting your commas in the right place, no, I don't want to say it's easy, but kind of is. That's not what makes for a great book. Yes, I'm going to notice if you have a comma in the wrong place, but most people aren't. That's not what makes for a great book. What makes for a great book is the power behind your story. So a really strong developmental editor will say, let's beef this up a little bit if you're comfortable. Can we add some more here so that you can really bring the reader in? Let's switch these around, because let's switch these chapters around, because we want to take the reader on a journey. We want the reader to not want to put the book down. And there is a way to do that, but you don't have to know that way. What the editor can't work with is what isn't on the page. So you have to get out there and put it on the page. And you remove from yourself the pressure of putting it perfectly on the page. I had a client 2 weeks ago say to me, I just can't find the right words. So I sat down to write and I just couldn't find the right words. And I said, I asked, why are you so focused on having the right words? We can get the right words later. I want you to get the right feelings. Because when it comes down to what you want your reader to do, the question really is, what do you want them to feel? Because in order for us to do almost anything, we have to feel something. Like, we have to feel a desire for something, for some end result, for some feeling, for some sense of accomplishment. It's that feeling that we're searching for. And if you want your reader to feel it, you have to feel it first. You have to feel it so it comes out. Like, you have to unearth all of that so they can receive it and process it and feel it and then do it. And that is the only expertise that you need in this space. That's it. Again, if you're going to write about how to dissect a frog properly, yeah, I hope you have some letters after your name. But if you're writing to move someone, to help, to serve, to compel, all you need to be willing to be an expert in is being willing. And we do that on a second by second basis, where we choose to say, I know myself better than anybody. And if I hit a moment, and this happens all the time when people are writing books, if I hit a moment where I feel like, oh God, I don't know if I know I think I might not know this part of myself, then that's where coaching comes in. Whatever coach you have, if you have a book coach, if you have whatever works for you, that's where the coaching comes in. Because it's not about should you do this and should you do that. It's about understanding what's driving that and being willing to go into it. And when you're willing to go into it and really see it, then it starts to open you up more, which only opens up other people and other opportunities more. Even if you uncover something about yourself that you don't want to share just yet, which is the final thing I'm going to say here, because people ask that often. Do I have to tell everything? No. But here's what you do have to do. You have to get comfortable with what your boundaries are around what you are and are not willing to talk about. I listened to the most remarkable podcast a few days ago. It was Glennon Doyle and Abby Wambach's podcast, and they had on Jen Hatmaker and Tyler Merritt. And I never wanted this podcast to end, and it was almost an hour long, and that's saying something. It was remarkable. And they were talking about Jen Hatmaker's divorce. And she was honestly pretty open, but there were things that she didn't clarify. And awesome. She's clearly very clear about what she's willing to clarify right now and what she's not. And that may change and it might not. And that's okay. Nobody has the right to tell you or anyone else which pieces of your journey you have to be willing to share at any point in time. That's when you start to feel totally like, oh my God, this is completely out of control. I feel like this is out of control. You hold the boundaries. You can absolutely transform and affect someone else's life in a positive way if you so choose, without laying it all out there if you are not ready to do so yet. People do it all the time, super effectively. And one of the things, I don't know why I have this pen, but it's working for me. One of the things that you do when you do that, although it's subconscious, is you tell your reader that it's okay for them to not, like, you empower them to have their boundaries too. And it is one of the most peace-giving opportunities. I have said forever, I will continue to say it probably forever. Writing a book is one of the most vulnerable and the most healing things you can ever do. If you really, really want to get to know yourself, write a book, even if you don't ever publish it. Because there will be so many things that you, if you're willing and you're open, you will uncover. Laura, you are conducting your story. I do feel a little bit like a conductor right now, but and there's probably a great analogy there. And you know how I feel about analogies. So this is all what we go through, this and then 17 billion other things in the Book Writing Accelerator. We start 2 weeks from today. It is a 12-week intimate group coaching program where you are going to get incredibly clear on your reader, on your content, and on your stories, so that you can tell all of it with confidence, with conviction, in a way that attracts your ideal readers, and if you so choose, ideal new clients, so that if you so choose, you can grow your coaching, your consulting business, you can start a new one, you can do a podcast, you can speak on stage, whatever you ultimately want to do. But first, you've got to have your message clear. And you've got to be able to stand in a place of powerful vulnerability and compelling compassion. That's the place from which you transform. It's the place from which you transform you, and it's the place from which you start to affect, with an A, other people in their transformation. And it's amazing to watch. So we have 12 weeks of content and coaching so that when you hit those moments where you're like, ugh, but Elizabeth, what if? I'm here. And I've been doing this for over 18 years. So I can almost guarantee you that I've heard it before, I've seen it before, and I've experienced it before. And there is very little that I love more than just guiding people through this process so that they can uncover this layer of themselves and let it shine from the standpoint of a book. We can do it in all different ways, but the way I do it is through writing a book. So if you're interested in hearing more about it, shoot me a DM. We can set up a chat. I can send you all the info. Again, we start 2 weeks from today. And by the end of it, you will have the first draft of an incredibly powerfully written book that will give you goosebumps. Like, I have goosebumps right now. It will give you goosebumps. That's the goal. And the reason it gives you goosebumps is because you're like, holy shit. Like, I think I can say that here. But A, I did this. B, this is really freaking good. And C, I know this is going to impact the right person. And it's always about one person, guys. It sounds counterintuitive. I promise you'll sell it to more than one person, but it's always about one person. And many times, believe it or not, it's about you. It's who you were. You are writing to you 5 years ago, 10 years ago, whatever it was. You're writing what you needed to hear. And as much as you want to believe you're a unicorn, some days I do too, we're not. There are other people who are in the exact same space who need to hear the exact same thing. And that's what you get to be. So that is it for today. This was impromptu. I wasn't even planning on it. I love that. I'd love to just do spontaneous stuff. So shoot me a DM if you'd like to chat further, or if you just have any questions about this whole book writing process thing. And I'd love to chat. So have an amazing rest of your day and an amazing rest of your week. I'm going to try to figure out how to turn this whole thing off, and I'll talk to you again soon.